This is Diesel for We the People. So I'm making a few videos today, I guess. I haven't been doing very much around here, so doing studies and taking breaks and watching a little bit of YouTube and accidentally come across a couple of things. So this guy right here is supposed to be a constitutionalist, alright? And he's good. But he's also misleading, so I don't bank 100% truth of the Constitution from him. But in other cases, if you listen to him, you at least get the basics. And I did hear a little bit of this, and so far he's right on track. I'm going to add to this. College elector. The people that's being chosen for a college elector is actually supposed to own land. Alright? Plain out. No payment or nothing. It's supposed to be plain out on land. But since we own taxes, we have no land to own. The government owns the land. Alright? So I guess they had to work around some things since nobody technically owns land. I don't know exactly how that part actually works when you're supposed to own land. I think they just kind of pick and choose anymore, since we're all equal and none of us owns land. But I wanted to bring this up because it goes in a little bit more details than the average people, and he probably can explain a little bit better than I can, because usually, like I said, when something comes in my head and I talk about it, it's just because it comes in my head. I don't have a notepad or anything, and I should start doing it if I'm going to do these videos. But as of this point right here, right now, I don't do it. So I'm helping y'all out, and this is what's going on the Electoral College. Okay. Oh, and one other thing, y'all. I've talked about it in other videos, and he don't bring this up. But the affidavit is what screwed everything up. Because affidavit, once again, is just presumptions. Alright? And the courts sometimes use it and go ahead and slides through it, and I don't know why the Supreme Court didn't ignore it and just go ahead and accept it. Except they're playing stupid games with us. Alright? And like I said, I haven't got in a whole lot of detail with this. This video is 30 minutes long. I'm not keeping it on that long. But anyway, this is kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea about how the college elector works. And for the most part, he's on cue. But a couple of little minor details, like you're actually supposed to own land. Because the president is not for the people. The president is for the state. Oh, number 2, 12th Amendment. I brought this up in other videos. Alright? The Electoral College is supposed to vote for the president, and on a separate ticket, the vice president. When we go vote to give our opinions, there's supposed to be 2 votes. One for the president, one for the vice president. And it can be mixed, Democrat or Republican. Number 1, the original intent of the Constitution, there was no such thing as Democrats and Republicans. That's a corporation. They suckered us. Which in another video I said we need to start voting for independence and get out of this corporation thing. Alright? So, let me start this and kind of let you hear about it, because he does kind of clean it up a little better than I could at the last minute things. You know what I mean? Here we go.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin. We're fighting a 2-front war in this country. One, domestically, defending our Constitution and our republic from the Democrat Party and the media, and I'm afraid to say the judiciary. The other is the Cold War with China. Yes, we're in a Cold War with China. The President of the United States has recognized that for some time. And we're going to spend this program really looking into that as well. But before we do the first war against America, Abraham Lincoln famously once said that if America is going to be defeated, it will be defeated from within. And this is exactly what's taking place. The electors have met. The media says it's over. The election is all done. You know what this is? I bring it with me all the time. In this little book is a copy of the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. We've talked about Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It's there like every other part of the Constitution. It's not in invisible ink. It's in black and white. And what does it require, ladies and gentlemen? It's very simple. When they met in Philadelphia, and then they met in the various state capitals for ratification of the Constitution, all of the framers insisted that the state legislatures make the election laws, particularly as applies to the selection of federal electors who in turn select a president of the United States. This part of the Constitution is as sacrosanct as all other parts of the Constitution. How many newsrooms have done stories on this? None. How many newsrooms even talk about this? None. And yet that has been the purpose of some of the litigation that's gone all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And what has the United States Supreme Court done? Nothing. Nothing. Those individuals on that court, those justices took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and they've utterly failed us. In virtually every state that's been in contention, particularly the battleground states, that part of the Constitution has been violated. In Georgia, when the Secretary of State entered into a consent decree with Stacey Abrams to change the voting system, that is, the signature requirement, he usurped the power of the state legislature, pure and simple. In Pennsylvania, the state legislature was usurped.
At this point, I'm pausing it. So these states are talking about change the laws in the middle of election. That's the problem right there. You cannot change a law in the middle of something.
So many times I can't even count it. By the governor, by the Secretary of State, by a rogue Democrat-controlled and elected state Supreme Court. That case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and so far, what has the court done? An 18-word, don't come back, we're not going to deal with it. And it's not just Pennsylvania and Georgia. Same thing happened in Michigan. Same thing has happened in almost all of these states where we have Democrats controlling the executive, or a rhino in the case of Georgia with the Secretary of State. This is why we have a Supreme Court. Judicial review for the purpose of upholding the United States Constitution. When it sits there and pretends that they're just observers, that decide they don't want to get involved, they have done a grave disservice to this country. They have not upheld the Constitution, and we will pay the price for this in elections to come. The state legislatures are in control of setting the election rules in all of these states, but not anymore. Not anymore. A governor can do it. A bureaucrat can do it. A state court can do it. A federal court can do it. This election cycle, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution has been read out of the Constitution. Why? To accommodate the Democrats, to accommodate Joe Biden. And what is it that they wanted? They wanted an election process in place where they can take what used to be fraud, what used to be considered ballots that would be rejected, as counted. They don't want to count every vote. They want to change the voting system. And that's exactly what they did in every single one of these states. And the news hasn't even covered it. Instead, we get spitballs from the so-called legal analysts. Spitballs where it's like, oh, they lost another case. Oh, I read the brief and I noticed in footnote 3 they didn't say this. Where are the defenders of the United States Constitution in this part of the Constitution? They sure as hell aren't on the Supreme Court or any federal court. Because we, the people, have now been abused. Why does it take so long to count and find out who the winners and losers are? Because that's what the Democrats have done in California, and that's now what they've done in all these states. And because this hasn't been confronted, because the court ducked one time after another, now we're stuck with it. And so they paint those of you and us who object to this as problematic, as something's wrong with us. They paint the President of the United States, who's not just defending his election, he's defending the Constitution of the United States. They paint him as a loser, and they try to humiliate him and so forth.
Sorry about that. And like I said, I'm not 100% with this guy. But he's pretty much on cue on this one.
Hey, what's going on over there?
Again, the media has spent exactly no time explaining how the Constitution works. One more thing. I hear earlier in the week, oh, the electors have met and the electors have voted. It's over. They don't even understand how the process works. It's not over. January 6th is when Congress meets jointly, the House and the Senate. It's the new Congress, the newly sworn in Congress that's sworn in on January 3rd by statute. And they sit and they count the electors from every state. A House member can object, a Senate member can object. This is under federal law. Then they have a debate. Depending on how the vote turns out, the matter can be thrown to the House of Representatives to choose a president. The Senate can choose the vice president. I'm not saying it's going to get to that point, but this idea that the media first proclaim the winner, and then, oh, now we count the electors, and then we don't even wait for Congress to meet. Again, nobody has sat down in any newsroom on any Sunday show and explained to the American people how this process works. It's all surface. It's all cheerleading for their man Biden, cheerleading against Trump. It is a disgrace that we live in a constitutional republic and that the media pretend we don't. It is a disgrace that we live in a constitutional republic and the court that we expect, that we rely on to uphold that republic, has failed us miserably. Miserably. What the hell's the point of this court? Now, this court has used judicial review and gotten involved in matters it had no business getting involved in, never had a problem. This court is so political that when it came to Obamacare, the Chief Justice of the United States flipped sides because he's worried about how he'll be seen or his legacy. There's way too much of that going on the Supreme Court, which is why I believe, and I wrote about this in Men in Black and the Liberty Amendments, that Supreme Court justices should be term limited. Term limited. If they're going to act like politicians, then they shouldn't be serving for life. Now, I don't agree with the Democrats that they should only be term limited when they want them term limited. They should be term limited to 14-year term. That's plenty of time. Will we lose some good justices? Yes. But so what? The system has to be changed. I can tell you that the framers of the Constitution never, ever expected the court to be so powerful. And when the court chooses not to act, that's powerful. When the court chooses not to enforce the Constitution, that's powerful because it's non-action. It's non-action, then does what? It enshrines what these lawless courts, lawless governors, and lawless secretaries of state have done. Two-front war that we're fighting right now. Two-front. Domestically, it is a huge problem, and this foreign war with communist China. Now, I want to look at this war that we have going on with communist China that Donald Trump called early on. I want to look at what China's doing. I want to look at what a Biden administration, should there be one, would do.
Okay, so I'm not going to get too much involved in the rest of that. I do want to realize that when people write, they're right. And even though a lot of times he's wrong on the Constitution, he is right on this. So, we the people need to wake up because we really don't have a constitutional court, which is what I said in the past. It's good to say, oh, this guy's well known, especially on Fox, that he actually says it. That's kind of nice to hear for a change, because a lot of things, and as far as I know, he wasn't 100% with Trump anyway. There's things he didn't like about Trump, and that Trump did constitutionally, and then he denied it was constitutional. And then when Trump was unconstitutional, he kind of said it was constitutional. So he flip-flopped. So I'm not 100% with this guy, but he's right on cue on this one. Alrighty? In all fairness, I would say he's about 80% accurate on the Constitution. So he's not far away from it. But sometimes it makes me wonder if he does not enter the Fox News Corporation part, right? I don't know a whole lot before Fox, and I don't listen to him a whole lot anyway, because I'm too busy doing other stuff. But I wanted to videotape this for some of y'all who don't watch news. You may need to watch this one right here and kind of get a better understanding about the college elector. Alright? Yeah, they're supposed to wait until the new Congress is in. That's the reason why it's January 6th. That's why. We don't know who the next president is going to be until January 6th. So, and I'm with him on this. And I said this in other videos. This is a dog and pony show. It's just a huge soap opera. To draw the people in and get us all mad and you know, make your Democrat friends be enemies with the Republican friends, and the Republican friends being enemies against the Democrat friends, you know, because Democrats and Republicans both don't know the Constitution. That's where the divide is. If Democrats actually know the Constitution and Republicans know the Constitution, they'll go right in the middle and they're going to say, hey, both of you guys need to clean your act together. Both of you guys are unconstitutional, and we are going to start going with independence because you are not worthy. Democrats have been so far left because our country's been so far left because they didn't know the Constitution, and they've been taught wrong about the Constitution, how it's evil and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, Democrat governors and judges are just throwing Democrat people in jail, and yet they keep voting Democrat. Well, Republican, you know, doing the same. Look at the mask law. Republicans are doing it, Democrats are doing it. And it's all unconstitutional. So anyway, this drawed out a little longer than I wanted it to be. This for we the people. Bye y'all.